Hello and welcome to another video where I mod a keyboard and you follow along. It's winter here in Melbourne and we are back to assemble and mod a cool keyboard as a gift for my neighbor. Working from home is becoming more and more common these days and it's absolutely vital to have a keyboard your fingers can feel comfortable with for long periods of time. Today we are looking to uplift the typing sound and feel of the Epomaker TH80 Pro. We have here the bare bones kit that we have shipped from the US. At $65 USD, the price is pretty affordable for a 75% RGB keyboard with 3 connection modes. It comes with wired, Bluetooth, and USB dongle 2.4 GHz. It also features a knob where you can use as a volume and mute control. We start off with unboxing the kit. This is a bare bones kit where the keycaps and switches are not included. Comes in a nice simple box that is easy to open. The box comes with an instruction booklet. Underneath that, the actual keyboard, a braided cable, and a 2-in-1 keycap switch puller. Taking a closer look at the keyboard body itself, it is a clean white design with slightly curved edges. The keyboard housing becomes thicker the further up we go, giving it that sloping, ergonomic look. The whole body is made of plastic but feels quite solid, and there is a slight weight to it, although this could definitely be improved. On the top left, we have the USB-C port, and looking at the back, we have the 2 kick feet, as well as this switch that switches the keyboard on to use its built-in battery. Let's begin, shall we? We first take off the stabilizer so we can disassemble the keyboard frame. These stabs have been pre-lubricated by the factory. However, they have overdone it as the stabilizer housing is chock full of lube. More on this later. The spacebar one has an extra rubber plugs in between. Maybe to dampen the sound altogether? I doubt it helps that much. We continue to take off the rest of the stabs. Time to open the actual body, which I use a flat tool to pry open the clips of the upper shell of the keyboard. The method of opening will vary depending on the type of board that you get. Not a fan of this particular one as it involves a lot of prying back and forth. We finally get the top housing off to get a better look at the keyboard plate. The plate houses the PCB, which is connected to a battery beneath it. There is also a thin piece of foam which feels pretty flimsy. The bottom of the case is all plastic and pretty much hollow with some built-in fins to add rigidity to the structure. We then disconnect the cable to the battery, allowing us to completely remove the plate section away from the bottom case. There are these rubber strips stuck onto sections around the caseboard. These are what we call make-believe gaskets, as the theory is to dampen the force of the keyboard presses when typing, due to the board sitting on a rubbery, springy material. This would also improve the typing feel and reduce typing fatigue. However, these rubber strips are as hard as can be and are so thin, they barely improve anything at all. Good quality gasket mounts should be using silicone combined with a soft flexi keyboard plate with some flex cuts to allow movement and dampens the sound as the user types. This keyboard plate has no flex cuts and is made of steel. It's sturdy but quite rigid. To create a more low resonance typing sound, aka thump to the keyboard, I started adding heavy rubber strips I cut out to size into the gaps of the bottom of the case. These strips will add heft and mass to the keyboard, allowing sounds to travel slower through the overall body, which lowers sound frequency, thus lowering the pitch. I also applied a tape mod where I put on a couple of layers of painter's tape to the bottom of the PCB plate, which also lowers the pitch and provides a crisp poppy sound when typing. I then reattached the battery to the board and realigned the board back onto the housing. Instead of the hard rubber strips provided, I decided to replace them with weather seal foam strips, which have a springy texture, hoping that it will provide a small improvement to dampen the typing force a little bit better. I then finally close up the board and clip the plastic casing into place, re-add the screws, reattach the knob, and voila! Moving on to the switches. We will be using Akko's Crystal Silver switches for this keyboard mod. We begin by taking them apart one by one with the switch opener. These switches have a relatively low travel distance, which gives them a fast, light feel when typing. They are described as buttery yet tappy and are a good deal for their price. Here I separate each part of the switch out. We have the top housing, the spring, the stem which keycap sits on, and the base housing which holds the contact crosspoint. We start applying lube to the bottom housing using Krytox 205, which is a creamy, grease-based lubricant ideal for linear switches. We take a bit of lube and apply it to the sides and a bit all around the center. Repeat for every single one of them. We then put all the springs into a clear bag. We generally are recommended to use Krytox 105, which is a clear viscous lubricant. This will eliminate any kind of noisy ping sounds as the spring expands and contracts during typing. We give the bag a good shake for about 30 seconds, then further massage the lube into the springs. We then start applying Krytox 205 lube to the stem, just applying all around the sides and middle of the stem. We then start to assemble the switches back by placing the spring onto the base, and then taking the lube stem, balancing it on top of the spring, then closing the entire piece with the top housing until it locks in place with a small click on each side. We then take the beautifully lubed switches and fit them onto the pinholes of the keyboard plate, taking care not to damage or bend the pins when doing so. We are using this whale ocean themed keycap set made of PBT. These are cherry profile, which are a very popular choice for both gamers and typists alike due to their reliable and balanced shape. And we are done. But wait a minute. What is the sticky feeling I get when pressing the spacebar? Uh-oh, let's open up these keys and try to fix it. Taking out the keycap and gasket, lo and behold, the excess amount of lube applied here is really throwing a spanner in the works. We need to clean this out and apply the right amounts. And we might as well do it for every single one of them. After taking them all out, we disassemble them into pieces and clean out all the lube with soft tissue. After each piece is clean and tidy, we ready our creamy lube as well as a tube of dielectric grease. We start to apply Krytox 205 lube into the housing sides, then pick up the stem and apply a smooth layer onto the sides. We are now ready to assemble. We take the stabilizer bar and dip one side into the tube of dielectric grease until we get a nice coat, not too much, not too little, to pad the movement of the stabilizer when typing. After that, we take one housing and insert the bar in and lock it by turning it to the side. Repeat that process for the other side and we are done. Align the stabilizer back onto the keyboard plate and lock it in. Repeat with all the rests and we can replace all the switches and keycaps for a finished keyboard. All in all, this keyboard came to life amazingly well, despite its factory lube stabilizers. With just a few mods and a bit of tender loving care, paying attention to lube the switches and to tune the stabs in detail, this keyboard is ready to go off to the races. I hope you enjoyed watching as I definitely enjoyed the whole process building it. Now take a listen to the sound test of the final product.